The storm rolled across the airport like a dark warning from the heavens, swallowing the last traces of sunset and turning the runway lights into trembling streaks of gold. Rain hammered against the glass walls of the private terminal, and every person inside seemed desperate to get somewhere else. But for Ethan Carter, a struggling single father carrying the weight of an entire world on his shoulders, that night would become the night that changed everything. He had no idea that within a few hours, a stranger's unbelievable promise would force him to make the hardest decision of his life. And it all began with one sentence. A sentence so strange, so impossible, that it sounded like something from a dream. If this jet takes off tonight, I'll make you rich. Before we continue, take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that restore faith in humanity. Ethan was 38 years old, exhausted beyond words, and trying desperately to hold his life together. 3 years earlier, he had lost his wife, Sarah, after a sudden illness. One ordinary morning she had kissed their daughter goodbye before school, and within months she was gone. The grief shattered Ethan. Yet he never had the luxury of falling apart completely because 6-year-old Lily depended on him for everything. Since then, Ethan's life had become a non-stop cycle of sacrifice. He worked maintenance jobs during the day and drove delivery vans at night. Every dollar had a purpose. Rent. Food. School supplies. Medicine. Electricity. There was never enough. Still, he never complained. Every evening he came home smiling for Lily, even when his body felt ready to collapse. That particular night, Ethan had accepted a temporary airport maintenance shift because the extra money would help cover Lily's upcoming school expenses. The storm had delayed several flights, creating chaos throughout the airport. As he pushed a maintenance cart through the private aviation terminal, he noticed something unusual. A woman stood alone near the windows overlooking the runway. She appeared wealthy, judging by her elegant coat and confident posture, but there was something troubled about her expression. While everyone else seemed annoyed by the weather delays, she looked genuinely frightened. For nearly an hour Ethan worked nearby. The woman paced. Checked her watch. Made calls. Then paced again. Something was wrong. Eventually she approached him. Her eyes were sharp yet desperate. Without introducing herself, she said the words Ethan would never forget. If this jet takes off tonight, I'll make you rich. Ethan stared at her. At first he thought she was joking. But she wasn't smiling. She looked terrified. The woman explained that a private aircraft scheduled to depart that night carried documents connected to a major international business acquisition. If the flight reached its destination before morning, a deal worth hundreds of millions would be finalized. If it failed, everything would collapse. Investors would pull out. Contracts would expire. Years of work would disappear. She wasn't asking Ethan to do anything illegal. She simply wanted someone trustworthy to help solve a series of logistical problems that had emerged because of the storm. Her staff was stuck across the city. Communication systems were failing. Everyone seemed overwhelmed. Ethan listened carefully. The offer sounded ridiculous. Why would someone promise wealth to an airport maintenance worker? Then she introduced herself. Victoria Hayes. A billionaire entrepreneur. The owner of multiple companies. Someone whose face Ethan vaguely recognized from business magazines. Suddenly the situation felt real. Victoria explained that every minute mattered. If the aircraft departed before midnight, the deal could survive. If not, disaster awaited. Ethan considered walking away. He wasn't qualified for corporate emergencies. He was just a tired father trying to earn overtime pay. Yet something in Victoria's expression stopped him. She looked less like a billionaire and more like a human being standing on the edge of losing everything. So he agreed to help. For the next several hours, Ethan worked alongside airport staff, coordinating maintenance checks, relaying messages, locating delayed personnel, and solving problem after problem. The storm intensified. Lightning flashed across the sky. Several times it appeared the flight would be cancelled. Yet somehow progress continued. Victoria remained nearby, watching anxiously. As midnight approached, the jet finally received clearance preparations. The runway lights illuminated the rain-soaked darkness. Ground crews moved into position. Engines began warming up. Everything seemed ready. That should have been the end. But fate had other plans. As Ethan completed one final inspection near the aircraft, he noticed something tiny. So small that almost anyone would have ignored it. A thin metal fragment lodged near a critical section of the landing gear assembly. At first glance it looked insignificant. Just a piece of debris. Yet years of maintenance experience told Ethan something wasn't right. He crouched closer. Rain drenched his uniform. The engines continued humming nearby. Then his stomach tightened. The fragment wasn't debris. It was part of a damaged locking component. A component that should never have been compromised. If the aircraft took off with that defect, catastrophic failure could occur during landing. Ethan's heart pounded. The plane was moments away from departure. Everyone wanted it airborne. Millions depended on that flight. Victoria's future depended on that flight. But safety depended on stopping it. Immediately. He knew what he had to do. Yet doing it could destroy everything. Without hesitation, Ethan reported the issue. Operations halted. Departure authorization was revoked. Emergency inspections began. Within minutes, frustration exploded throughout the terminal. Executives panicked. Investors called. Schedules collapsed. Victoria looked devastated. The deadline would almost certainly be missed. The massive acquisition was finished. Years of planning had vanished. For a moment Ethan wondered if he had ruined countless lives. The next morning the answer arrived. Engineers completed a full investigation. Their conclusion shocked everyone. The defect Ethan discovered was far more serious than initially believed. Had the aircraft departed, a landing gear failure would have been highly likely during arrival. Passengers and crew could have faced a deadly accident. News spread quickly. Airport officials praised Ethan's attention to detail. Aviation experts called the discovery remarkable. Lives had been saved. Yet Ethan wasn't celebrating. Because while everyone applauded his professionalism, his own life remained unchanged. Bills still existed. Rent was still due. Lily still needed new school clothes. And wealthy people usually forgot promises once emergencies ended. 3 days later Ethan returned home after work. The mailbox contained another overdue notice. His refrigerator held little more than milk and leftovers. He sat at the kitchen table staring at financial statements while Lily colored pictures beside him. The little girl suddenly looked up. She smiled. Then handed him a drawing. It showed 3 people holding hands beneath a bright sun. One was Ethan. One was Lily. The third was Sarah. Above them Lily had written 4 words. Mommy is still here. Ethan felt tears fill his eyes. Some wounds never fully heal. That night he cried quietly after Lily fell asleep. Not because he felt sorry for himself. Because he was tired. So unbelievably tired. The following week an unexpected letter arrived. Inside was an invitation. Victoria Hayes requested his presence at a company event. Transportation included. Formal attire optional. Ethan almost declined. But curiosity won. The event took place inside a massive conference hall filled with business leaders, journalists, and investors. Ethan felt completely out of place. Then Victoria stepped onto the stage. The room became silent. She began speaking about leadership, responsibility, integrity. She discussed the failed acquisition, the financial losses, the disappointment. Then she surprised everyone. Victoria explained that losing the deal had ultimately revealed deeper problems within the company. Problems that would have caused far greater damage later. Missing the deadline had forced necessary changes. What seemed like failure had become protection. Then she told the audience about the maintenance worker who ignored money, pressure, and personal gain to do the right thing. The giant screens displayed Ethan's photograph. He froze. The audience turned toward him. Victoria's voice grew emotional. She said true wealth isn't measured by bank accounts. It's measured by character. She explained that Ethan had saved lives despite knowing it might cost him everything. Then she announced something nobody expected. Months earlier she had created a foundation dedicated to supporting families who had suffered devastating personal loss. After hearing Ethan's story, she decided to expand it. A new initiative would launch nationwide. And Ethan Carter would lead community outreach efforts. The position included a salary far beyond anything he had ever earned. Health benefits. Educational support for Lily. Housing assistance. Long-term financial security. The crowd erupted into applause. Ethan couldn't move. For several seconds he simply stared. Not because of the money. Because someone had finally seen him. After years of struggle, sacrifice, and invisible hardship, someone had recognized the value of his character. Victoria wasn't making him rich because a jet had taken off. She was making him rich because it hadn't. Because he chose integrity when dishonesty would have been easier. Because he protected strangers he would never meet. Because he valued human lives more than personal reward. Months passed. Ethan's world transformed. Lily moved into a safe neighborhood with excellent schools. Financial stress disappeared. For the first time since Sarah's death, hope returned to their home. Yet the greatest change wasn't material. It was emotional. Ethan finally had time. Time to attend school events. Time to help with homework. Time to sit beside Lily during sunsets. Time to heal. One evening, nearly a year after the storm, Ethan and Lily visited a small park overlooking a lake. The sky glowed orange and gold. Birds drifted across calm water. Lily rested her head against his shoulder. Then she asked a question. She wondered if Mommy would be proud of them. Ethan looked toward the horizon. His eyes filled with tears. Not painful tears. Grateful ones. Because he already knew the answer. Sarah would be proud. Proud that kindness survived hardship. Proud that integrity survived temptation. Proud that even after losing so much, Ethan never stopped being the kind of man she loved. And perhaps that was the greatest reward of all. Not money. Not success. Not recognition. The knowledge that doing the right thing eventually matters, even when nobody is watching. Before the ending, leave a special comment below. What would you have done if you were Ethan standing beside the jet that stormy night? If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with friends and family, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these meaningful stories reach people who need hope the most. As darkness settled over the lake, Ethan watched Lily laugh at something only children could find funny. Her laughter echoed across the water like music. In that moment he understood something beautiful. The richest people aren't always the ones with the largest fortunes. Sometimes they're the ones who choose honesty when dishonesty pays more. The ones who keep going when life becomes unbearable. The ones who believe kindness still matters. And sometimes, on the stormiest nights of our lives, the smallest thing we notice can change everything forever.